Hey and welcome back. Bit of a serious story today. You've probably been reading in the press about this breaking story on this guy, Charles Lieber, who is a senior Harvard chemistry scientist who's been just accused, and I don't want to go there, he's not been convicted or anything yet, but he is accused of taking money from the Chinese government to set up a laboratory in Wuhan in China, and also being paid by the Chinese government for his name and involvement in research. And I don't know how well known this is, but two Chinese students have been arrested at Boston Logan Airport with samples in their luggage. But I think it raises a big issue, which is a Professor Simon subject. And I think you and I need to discuss that today. So we all know that Bill Gates made the coronavirus. No, he didn't. Interestingly, and I wonder if it is because of so many people accusing the Gates Foundation of being involved in coronavirus research, he has now given over 100,000 US dollars into research into a cure, a vaccine, and we'll talk about that, into a vaccine for the new Wuhan emerging coronavirus disease, which sadly is in the world right now. He didn't build the coronavirus. He gave money for a veterinary research grant to another company who were looking at treatment for animals with coronavirus a few years ago. And this is related to the Boston story. So let's just explore this for a minute. So this Boston scientist who, if convicted, it's really a sad story. Obviously, if it's true, is being paid by the Chinese government, and he's also being paid by the US government with restrictive grants saying that he shouldn't work for foreign nationals. So if it turns out that he has been doing something wrong, and I really am not saying that today, it's not good. But it's not related to the coronavirus. I think you have to be really careful. Okay, so the laboratory that he is accused of being associated with is in this enormous, one of China's largest urban areas called Wuhan. Just a coincidence. So, okay, the same name, but that doesn't mean it's actually coronavirus research. He actually worked in nanotechnology, medical nanotechnology, to look at how new drugs could work at the kind of microscopic or very nanocellular range for delivery, and was being funded by the US government, and possibly these samples were flown back to China, part of this nano research. So it wasn't Bill Gates. And thanks, Bill, for giving a large amount of money into research into helping people who have the coronavirus or are looking for a vaccine, which is possibly the only long-term solution to this emergent virus. And this Lieber guy, I'm really sorry if it's true, and it's got nothing to do with the coronavirus. It's just a complete coincidence that he is being accused of being associated with a laboratory in Wuhan. End of story. But there's still a good story out there, which I would like to tell you today. And actually, it's really scary. So some basics. Coronavirus is the shape of the virus. It exists in animals. It exists in you because you've had the common cold, I'm sure, at one time in your life. But it's just the shape of a virus, and it's serious. And veterinary medicine has been looking at animals who get coronavirus. It's kind of a flu type effects in domestic animals, and they've been looking at it for years. But normally we don't get it, the animal variety. It has somehow crossed into us. So let's talk a bit about how that might have happened today. We, the scientific community, think that the coronavirus existed in bats, and somehow this bat virus, which only lives in bats and isn't dangerous to humans, got into another species, possibly a civet cat, And sadly, those civet cats were eaten by humans. And because of a horrible coincidence that humans are more related to civet cats than bats, we got the virus. That's called crossing the species barrier. And crossing that barrier is extremely dangerous because emergent diseases can hop into humans that we would not normally catch. And the research into what animals are interrelated is fascinating. The most classic story is mad cow disease. We have sheep and they're all very healthy, thank you. But certain sheep do get scrapie, which is a degenerative brain disease, which is similar to the kind of symptoms of a mad cow. They shake, they get trembles, they lose weight, their wool falls off, and it's a brain problem. But scrapie infected sheep is still actually edible in the human food chain because scientists have discovered that we are so unrelated to sheep that you can eat them even although they've got this brain disease. You need to avoid their brains and you need to avoid their spinal cords, but their muscle fat, which we eat as, lamb steaks, if you eat meat, is fine and you won't get the brain disease. But if you feed these scrapie infected animal carcasses to cows and then the cows eat it, why? Just look at the whole BSC thing. It's a nightmare. Anyway, the cows were fed, I should say, the scrapie infected sheep, and then we ate beef, and we are closer to cows than we are to sheep, and we started getting the human form of the mad cow disease, CJD, and it's a horrible disease. It is early days, but I think that's probably where this emergent Wuhan corona shape virus emerged from. It leapt species to species because we foolishly started eating animals that were infected. Not a good thing. And it came into humans, found that it could survive in humans and makes us sick. Now let's do a public health announcement. First of all, the new Wuhan coronavirus only kind of gives you flu-like symptoms, and it is particularly dangerous for people with respiratory problems and the very old or the very young or people with poor lung functions. And most of the people dying sadly had a pre-existing condition which made them extremely susceptible to a virus that affects your respiratory system. Now, the good news, if there is good news, no, I think there is good news, is that the human body will fight off the Wuhan coronavirus if you're healthy and after I don't know the answer to this, but after a number of days, a few weeks, you will beat it and you will live. It won't kill you. And lots of people, the vast majority of people, get coronavirus and survive. The body fights it and it wins the battle. And actually, you'll be particularly strong after you've had it because you'll have antibodies that are designed to fight another attack if you ever get infected again, heaven forbid. And that's how it works. The virus comes into our body. If it's new, our body doesn't really know about it very much. Eventually it learns, and if we're strong, got a strong immune system, it beats the virus and you will live. If you're vulnerable, have a weaker immune system, or affects parts of your body like your respiratory system that is vulnerable, it might kill you before your body actually beats it. So great advice is wash your hands, do not touch your face, especially your eyes. Be very careful about people sneezing within about a 6-foot radius of you. They really should cover their face. Be careful about touching things like tray tables on aircraft or banisters, unwashed cups, anything Just constantly wash your hands. That's a very, very good advice. I think if you are suffering from respiratory illness, I think you should probably stay indoors and certainly avoid any possible contact with the virus because you would be more vulnerable. But most people are going to be fine taking basic precautions, and your body will beat it. There's no evidence to say that it's mutated into a more dangerous form yet. I hope it doesn't. And we should eventually eradicate it as it dies out. I think it's at the stage now where it's sadly multiplying. Did you read about the case of the British scientist that went to Wuhan and then went to the French ski resort? And then they're now tracing really cleverly all the people that he was in contact with, he was infected with it, and they've all got it. I mean, and that's the classic viral spread. And this is what governments and health authorities are good at doing. So let's hope it doesn't get out of hand. But the poor guy in Boston has got nothing to do with the coronavirus. Bill Gates has nothing to do with the emergent Wuhan coronavirus. Be safe out there. Look after yourself because the truth is out there.